So it's actually kind of a interesting story because my father has a degree. My father went to, so I'm not first generation college student. So my father has a degree from Kent State University, but he graduated like in 1975 or something like that. And so there weren't a lot of jobs for black people, So, a lot of black people went to college in the 70s, but they didn't hire people. So my dad ended up doing a series of different jobs, and he ended up working for University Hospital in Cleveland. And he actually was on the cleaning team, so he was a supervisor of environmental services. And my parents also owned a business. So my father has a marketing degree. So he worked cleaning the hospital, managing the team, making sure that it was, spick and span. And then, so he did that at night. And then during the day, during bakery hours, my parents owned a bakery. So he actually used his marketing degree and marketed to all of the black-owned businesses in Cleveland. And so he would put cakes in everybody's business. He had a commercial like business in bakery. Yeah. So from my father working at University Hospital in Cleveland, it was just a lot of networking that occurred. So he got to meet a lot of doctors and just all types of people working at the hospital. And so my sisters ended up getting jobs at the hospital, working in different units and nursing. And then, so I just kind of grew up in the hospital. So I grew up in the bakery my parents owned, but also the hospital where my father just kind of hustled to invest in the business. And so from there, I started volunteering in the hospital. And so a lot of people in my family are in healthcare, but everybody was just like, you're going to be the doctor. And just really built me up in that way. So it was just from a young age, I had an interest in medicine, and everybody in my family saying, you're going to be the doctor.
That's beautiful. This is a segue question. It's more so for me. What was your dad's business called, and is it still in existence today?
So so my parents, it was actually my parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was my mother's bakery. My mom's okay. So I guess I don't know if I need to say this, but
This part may not make it in. This is more
no,
so
that's
for me.
fine. No, that's fine. So just a tidbit. I've had a really interesting life, and my parents are very interesting people. And so my parents converted to Islam probably in the 70s as well. And so my mom, her name is Lois, but then her Muslim name is Layla. So the bakery is called Layla's Bakery. It was called Layla's Bakery, and then it's still somewhat in existence. My parents actually ended up getting divorced. And so it's still in existence and has had different iterations, but still, one of my sisters actually ended up opening a bakery as well. So she has one in Houston. Her bakery is called House of Cake Fairies in Houston.
Nice.
Yeah.
We were just in Cleveland not too long ago. I'm sorry, we're segueing. There's some brothers out there named Tim. Run Ridall. I don't know Ridall out there in Cleveland. Like they
Is that
really
on the west side? I don't know.
It's off of 82nd Street.
Oh, okay, okay.
But it's right.
82nd and what?
Oh man, I know when
Like St. Clair or
what used to be back there. He literally called it was the trap. So it used to be.
maybe around Huff, like around the projects?
Yeah, yes, exactly. Right
Okay.
around the project. So Ohio State had bought up a lot of that land and turned it into a quote unquote gardening project when they got one of their
Okay.
integrated brothers. But they ended up taking over all that whole piece now. But it's now a whole black owned campus.
No, that's
And the
awesome.
Jokers have about 10 greenhouses. They have a whole fish farm. They do their main thing is education and training, but just how they transform
That
that
sounds
system.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty cool. That's why I was wondering because if I was back up there, I was gonna definitely try to check out the bakery. But
Yeah.
we'll get back on.
Okay.
That story was cool. That was thank you.
No
What
problem.
are your biggest challenges you face as not just a doctor but a black woman doctor?
I mean, I think that for the biggest problem that I face as a black woman physician is kind of the same problem that most people in America face, in that we're trying to work and we're trying to be humans, and the way that America is set up, it's hard to be a human at work. And so that looks different for us as black people because we are affected by just all types of trauma that is going on, happening. So I say that I specialize in what's called trauma-informed care. That's what a lot of family doctors do, is called trauma-informed care, because we're the doctors who take care of mind and body. We do get some training in mental health, and of course we get training in the physical body as well. So most people associate family medicine with kind of those doctors who combine the two. And so when you're trying to be, mental health savvy, and trying to think about the different things that people are experiencing, it's just not enough time. Like I would love for when my patients show up, they took 3 buses to get there, and they're 30 minutes late, it's hard because it's just like, well, somebody else is already here, and the system really is just not set up for the fact that people have hard lives. And that goes for us as well. I'm a human just like everybody else, and so I've experienced going through cancer, and being a cancer survivor. So that's been a hard thing to go through at a young age, and it's just not always a lot of time. You just don't always get to take time off because there's nobody else there. Like, the way that everything is staffed in America is like bare minimum, right? So you can always make enough money. And so so for me personally, I changed jobs actually. I was working at a job where it was hard to take off time, so I quit that job, and then I came and worked for UC so I could take time off so I could get surgery for my cancer situation. And then what was crazy was when I came back from having surgery, one of my colleagues died of cancer. And then it was just like nothing stopped. Nothing stopped. Like, still got refills to do. People still need their medicines. People still got appointments. People still got problems. So it's just like everything else in America, like when we are experiencing trauma ourselves, and trying to be able to perform trauma-informed care, there's not any resources or any time or anything that really come and help us be able to do that.
No one's expected this interview. Sorry. This is what's your favorite thing about being a doctor? Especially, a black woman doctor. What's your favorite thing?
Yeah. I mean, my favorite thing is just having that understanding of trauma-informed care, and being able to provide that for my patients and being able to talk with them. Like if they do catch 3 buses and they were late, trying to get them, see if we could have them just wait, just being able to have that kind of perspective. Because I recently wrote that when I was a teenager, I used to catch 3 buses to go to my doctor. So I know what that's like. I know what it's like to catch 3 buses to go to the doctor, and not everybody knows that. So being able to have a perspective and empathy from that place of being a black woman who was raised in urban underserved areas, to be able to work in an urban underserved area and really understand the perspectives that a lot of my patients have is a gift. Not everybody gets to do that. Not everybody has the skill set and the ability and the resources to be able to go through with something like that. So I feel very fortunate that I get to be there for my patients when they need me.
No, and you're doing such a great service, Dr. Shamo. And I hear you when you talk about just the support, but what's the best advice you've ever got on your journey?
I think that on my journey, I think the best advice I'm trying to think that I've ever received. The best advice that I've ever received. I mean, I think that the best advice I've ever received is probably just from running. I run races, and it's just like your race, your pace. And to really try to avoid comparing yourself to other people, and to just understand that everybody has different skills and resources and time to do different things. So you just try to worry about yourself and do the best you can, and just be kind to yourself, and don't really be really hard on yourself. I find a lot of people are very hard on themselves and compare themselves to other people a lot. And I will say that for me, running races, even though it's a race, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of interesting, but it really teaches you to have a lot of patience with yourself and really compare yourself to you. Like, try to be better than yesterday yourself, not better than everybody else. Like, you're your own competition.
Me and my wife had this conversation last night, and I don't want to derail, but I was telling her, each day you try to get 1% better, 1% better, because she was preparing herself for athletes, and we'll move on. But she thought it was crazy that my mom was saying I would pass out before I would just give up. You know what I mean? Doing hot yoga. She
Yeah.
was like, we're having that conversation, but it's not that she's comparing herself to everybody, but she wanted to know what a goal to try to each day. I want to get a little bit better, a little
Right.
bit better.
But they call it progress, not perfection.
Yeah. You never, and you never. And the cool thing about it, and I believe it was Jalen Hurts that said it, in the Super Bowl game, is that there is no end to the journey. The journey is the journey. Like,
Right.
Once you've arrived, then what else you have left? Like, that's I try to tell my kids. The only time I want to hear that I've arrived is on my GPS. I mean, you got
Right.
there already.
Right.
Nowhere else to go, and that's not a scary thought, but just one that
It's kind of a boring thought.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what it is.
boring.
Cause I love to be continuously challenged,
Yeah,
and try to, and like I said, and for me, I would say more than anything that my parents were artists, and they just kind of experimented with different things, and I think it really taught me to dream, and it also taught me to just have fun with things and see where that takes you, because there's certain things that you're free to change your mind anytime. Like you might pursue something and you might do it for a while, but there's always more things to do, and you have to really kind of tap into that creativity and keep dreaming about other stuff. Because one of my favorite things about Michelle Obama's book Becoming is that's what she named the book, Becoming, because she's like, I went at like 18 years old, I pursued becoming a lawyer, and then I got there and it was okay. But then it was just like kind of like what else? And people be like, but you went to like you went to Harvard for law school and that sort of thing. And I think that it's always people from the outside looking in who are telling you like, well, what do you mean? You went to Harvard for law school and you don't enjoy the experience? And it's just like, because you just get bored with it. You just want to do something different.
no, I totally understand. Totally understand. What do you think is the most important thing for your patients to know about their health?
I think the biggest thing is, the idea of know your numbers and like know what your blood pressure number is, know what your cholesterol numbers. The number one killer of Americans is heart health, heart disease. So, which diabetes, high blood pressure affect, high cholesterol affect. So if people are at risk for diabetes, knowing their risk factors for diabetes, and just trying to know where they are so they can work on things, and just really like participate in the things that we do as doctors. So for me as a family doctor, it's all about prevention, like trying to prevent, like even if you've had a heart attack, trying to prevent the next heart attack. So everything we do is all about prevention, and not everybody buys into it. A lot of people are weird. So that for us to be talking about prevention, that requires a person to be what we call future oriented, right? So if I'm trying to prevent your next heart attack, that's in the future. Like that's probably not going to happen. If it is going to happen, it's not going to happen today. It's probably not going to happen tomorrow. So we're thinking about 6 months from now. And that's even one of the things we say, because my husband's also a family doctor. So one of the things that he told me that he tells his patients is, we're talking about now in your 40s, we're trying to work on your health in your 40s so that when you're in your 50s, you don't have a heart attack. So you're trying to really always think about 10 years from now. And I think a lot of people really live in the moment. And you want to live in a moment sometimes, but I will tell you that most people who get to 70 or 60 and their health is not where they thought it was going to be is because they probably didn't expect to live that long. They probably, a lot of people didn't. A lot of people who, like my dad is 71, and a lot of people that he knows, they didn't make it to 71. So he's kind of shocked that he made it to 71, but his health is not the best. And it's kind of like one of those moments of like, had I known I was going to live to be 71, I would have taken better care of myself. And it's just like, you have no idea how long you're going to live. So you should take care of yourself just in case.
Yeah, like you said, and I want to get to the next question because you talked about some of your hobbies outside of medicine. I know
Yeah.
you said running, one of them. And I wanted to hold on that, stick on that question,
Yeah.
but yeah, just knowing that you're continuously improving yourself, and that delayed gratification is another thing. But the feeling once you finish those workouts and things of that nature, it's kind of that instant piece that you can hold on to just a little bit. But yeah, what are some of your hobbies or interests outside of medicine?
So, so I really enjoy exercise. I like running. I've run. I'm working on my third marathon currently. I've run like at least 25 half marathons and a bunch of 5Ks and 10Ks. So that's kind of a newer hobby, running races. I've always loved kickboxing, so I've actually been boxing lately as well. So today I actually went boxing for like an hour, and then I went running for an hour. So I did both of them today.
Keeps you mentally fresh too.
Yeah.
Nah, wow.
It's a good, I mean, boxing and even kickboxing is a good way to get out aggression. Um, just like I said, our job is a frustrating job because America is a frustrating place to live in, right? And so I feel like I wish more people would go and box things instead of shooting up schools. So,
No, agree. I keep it silent. But yeah. No, we have a little center, and we put up a little one of those indoor boxing ones, where just to let the kids once again express that piece and just that physical frustration, just to let it out is huge sometimes.
Yeah.
This is, we're gonna get into the UC questions here, so I didn't know if you wanted to put your jacket. We only have two more, so we really don't have
Okay.
to go this
All
point.
right. Well, I can put it on, but I was just gonna say another one of my hobbies is okay. So
Yeah, no, please do.
okay. So another one of my hobbies is my businesses. So I grew up actually acting, singing, dancing. So on my social media pages, I do like to. That's the thing that's interesting about like doing social media and that sort of thing. Not everybody likes it because not everybody's really into that. But for me, as a person who grew up acting, like you kind of like it's like a creativity involved in it, right? Of like, oh, you there's like modeling involved, and then there's like scripts that you have to write, and then there's comedy and all that sort of thing. So people really underestimate all of the work that goes into a lot of the things that people do on social media, but I enjoy it. So
Like I said, you're a great Twitter follower too. We're gonna definitely put that on here too, so you folks will know where to follow you at. But
yeah.
and we'll definitely tag you. But yeah, you're a great Twitter follower. And excuse me, just hearing your background, just kind of how you got to this point, it's just been it's such a cool story. What's your favorite thing about working at UC Medicine? What's your favorite thing about just kind of working here, especially coming from, like you said, coming from Cleveland, working, seeing in that hospital setting, so you kind of have a different perspective. What's your favorite thing about it?
I mean, my favorite thing. So do you should I put on my white
It's
coat?
up to you. It's up to you. It's up to you. I mean, we kind of have a flow, but it's cool either way. I'm good either way. I'll let you decide.
Um, I'm gonna go without it. I'm okay. All right. So my favorite thing about working for UC is the students. So when you work for a university, it's called academic medicine. So you spend some time taking care of patients, and my patients get to work with our medical students, and so you're constantly you're shaping the next generation of doctors by allowing them to come into your space and seeing how you doctor, and hopefully they can learn some things about that. And then um, for a lot of my students, just having them see a reflection of themselves in me. So that's really great. And then the other piece is just it's always, I really love mentoring. So my husband and I, we don't have children. And so it's nice when you are working with medical students and residents because you still get to like nurture, young people and shape their futures and just be a part of their story.
What you mentioned, your husband has a practice, you have a practice. You guys have one together, or
No.
because I mean, because we need to know where our black doctors are. So can you help
No,
us?
so
Let us know where we can find you guys.
my husband, um, okay, so we both work for UC, so but my husband is doing what I used to do. So I used to work for the health department as a contractor. So he's currently contracted to work for the health department through UC. And so he also does psychiatry. So we're actually both double boarded. So I'm double boarded in family medicine and geriatrics. So I specialize in taking care of older adults. And my husband is double boarded in family medicine and psychiatry. So he's actually appointed in the psychiatry department, but he does some family medicine as well. But his office, he actually works in Avondale.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see.
At that UC slash the health department office. Yeah. And then I work here in this building actually on the fourth floor. But yeah, so.
So you're up here upstairs. I know a lot. Sometimes we get a couple guests that stop through. Sometimes they looking for the office, but no, that's cool. So I'll definitely make sure within our video we impose that piece in too.
Yeah.
Like I said, I know my doctor is Dr. William Cox, Randall
Yeah,
Cox.
yeah.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Like she's been my family. Like I said, we grown up together. So that's
Yeah.
a good relationship there.
No, and that's the other piece I didn't talk about. Part of what inspired me to be a family doctor is my family doctor. So my dad got diagnosed with diabetes when he was like, I don't know, 38 or 40 or something like that, which is close to my age currently. And my family doctor, our family doctor in Cleveland, his name is Dr. Weinberger. And he, helped my father like work and see what's causing your diabetes. He's like, he was asking my dad questions about, what he's eating, that sort of thing. And my dad revealed that he was drinking multiple 2 liters of Pepsi every day to stay awake, to do all of what he was doing, working 2 jobs, basically. And so, Dr. Weinberger said, you got to stop drinking the Pepsi, maybe switch to Diet Pepsi. And so he's just been working with my dad on his health since he was young. And my dad, Dr. Weinberger literally just retired like last week. And so him and my dad have been working together for like 30 something years. And I know that relationship that they've had together has been really important. And so that was kind of one of the things that inspired me to want to help people in the way that he helped my dad. And I'm really passionate about is prevention.
Like I said, never. It's rare to have and see people
Yeah.
So definitely do not take that for granted at all. My last question, and then I'll let you, whatever any thoughts that you have, was just what do you think sets University of Cincinnati's medical practice apart from any other school, if there is anything that you think sets it apart?
I mean, I think the biggest thing that does set it apart from in this particular region is the fact that it is a teaching institution. So I think that I think so I'm trying to think what else. Um, there are a lot of things that set. So honestly, I will tell you that one of the things that attracted the reason why I'm here in Cincinnati right now talking to you is because, you know, 10 or so years ago, my husband came here to interview for medical school, and the way that they recruited him was different. So they recruit black doctors here in medical school by just putting an emphasis on being a black doctor and that it's important and this community values that. And so my husband came here to interview, and he had the choice to come here or other medical schools. And he said, I want to go to Cincinnati because they value black doctors. And so I was in Columbus at the time. I went to Ohio State. So I said, okay, well, I'll see about going there for residency because I was already in medical school at the time. So, I graduated medical school, and then I came here for residency. And then my husband and I actually ended up being in residency together. Because he thought he was going to be a surgeon, but then he ended up being a family doctor like me. So he was an intern when I was a third year. And then I actually wanted to move out to Columbus. And then my husband said, it's not the same. He said, it's a lot of people in Cincinnati, and they have a lot of problems, and they have a lot of people working on it. And he said Cincinnati needs, 2 black doctors to be here, and they actually will support us like a lot of other cities wouldn't support you. So,
That's beautiful, Dr. Shamam. Anything else?
I don't think so. I guess I can just give a shout out to the Cincinnati Medical Association. Yeah. After my husband said that, I finished residency, I finished fellowship, and then I worked for a few years in geriatrics, working in a nursing home, and I used to work a lot on Wednesday night, so I didn't get to connect with the Cincinnati Medical Association, which is the Black Doctors Association here. And so I ended up quitting that job and doing a different job. And so I was able to start working, coming to the meetings on Wednesday nights. And it's just been really amazing to see the network of black doctors that is here, and the fact that they support each other really well. And because honestly, a lot of young people, they don't understand why that's important, because it's not like it used to be. Like back when a lot of the doctors who are currently in, practicing at UC or in Cincinnati, there was only two medical schools they could go to. They could only go to Meharry, or they could only go to Howard Medical School. I think that Morehouse is a newer one. So there was only two places where they could train. So they all pretty much knew each other because they either went to one of those 2 places. And so, when they came to a place like Cincinnati or anywhere, it was kind of like they all knew each other because they had to refer each other patients, because nobody would refer them patients. And so now the world doesn't exist in that way. And so it's kind of hard sometimes to connect with the younger doctors of like why that's important. But I'm really happy that I did join, because there is a lot of importance of that, because we all, I teach about microaggressions and inclusion. And so there will be times where you'll experience microaggressions or people just being racist to you in residency or as a doctor. And it is good to have support from your colleagues to say, hey, you need to leave from over there and come over here. And so it's been really amazing to be a part of a network of black doctors, because a lot of cities don't have them anymore.
Dr. Shamam, this has been amazing. It's been great to even just talk with you. I feel like it kind of go down a couple different rabbit holes that you touched upon. I know time is limited. The only other question I kind of had, just off of that note, when you talk about the younger doctors and their perspective, because even still, when you look at the overall landscape, right, of just black doctors, do they? And this might be a generalized question, so if you don't feel comfortable answering, that's fine. But do they still see themselves, or do they still respect their place as being a black doctor and understanding that those numbers are still small?
Yeah.
And the importance of patients wanting them.
Right.
If that question makes sense.
Yeah. Now, it's just, I I think that as the world becomes more, the goal for the world is to become more diverse and inclusive, right? And I think that the young people have a lot more pride in being a black doctor than you would think. A lot of times you would think that they would want to be blend in and say, "I'm not a black doctor. I'm just a doctor." But I think that they understand that patients will see them in that way. And the way that, bias and race and all that sort of thing works is that there is an advantage and there is power in that. A lot of times, people may want to shy away from it, but for me, I haven't shied away from it because I understand that me being a black doctor in a black neighborhood saved lives. And I think that a lot of our medical students really understand that because there's so much data about it. And of course, on Twitter, they're very active, like Black Man in Medicine, Black Women in Medicine, Black Girl Magic, the students have here. They call it groups, So they definitely embrace that. And I think that because of the power of social media and the power of just data, they really understand the importance of you embracing being a black doctor is gonna, you have to be informed on the issues that your patients have, so there's power in, understanding that the weight that has as far as being informed on the things that affect black health. Like right now, maternal mortality, infant mortality for me as a family doctor, like I said, heart disease, kidney disease. So there's all types of different health disparities that affect our black patients. And so you kind of have to embrace that piece of it in order for you to work on addressing it. And the young people definitely understand that.
That's all I got, Dr. Shaw. Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
no problem.